Hello. Hi. I wanted to share a little bit about an experience I had this weekend with one of the participants in the retreat that I was helping to facilitate some movement through sexual trauma and through other childhood traumas and through the ancient art of Tantra, which is actually just an embodiment, not just, it's an embodiment practice, many embodiment tools and practices about how to get out of your own way and get out of your mind and get into your body. So we were at this retreat, and there was one woman in particular that the facilitators wanted me to support. And this woman had just been through four miscarriages and was newly pregnant. And I felt like, okay, I can help her. I've just had a really interesting experience with a pregnancy and miscarriage. And I felt like, okay, I can hold this woman in a way that could support her. So I noticed that she was ignoring me the first day. And the second day, she softened. The first day, we were just doing tools of shaking and moving the body and getting into the body. And the second day, she was a little bit more receptive, but I was watching and I was wondering when the opening was going to be that she and I could actually have a chance to connect because I know what that's like to go through so many hormonal issues running up and down the body, the fear of losing the baby, the magnitude of what can happen in that kind of a sensitive experience, and also knowing a little bit about her background. So I just wanted to make myself present. And finally, the opportunity came at the end of the retreat after the last big session. I was leaving and she didn't see me. It was dark and she offered a ride to someone in the darkness. And it turned out to be me. And I later found out that she was like, oh shit, I'm going to have to tell this woman how I feel. And I came up to her and I just said hello. It was kind of our first meeting. And she said, I'm so sorry. This is how she opened it. I'm so sorry if you felt any negative energy towards you the first day. And I said, oh, I didn't. But knowing, my work, I know that the work can bring up a lot and it can be pretty intense to, uh, look at yourself when you've got a bright mirror in front of you. It's hard to see the things you need to see. This woman is a police officer working in a prison. She's not a police officer, but she works in law enforcement in a prison. And I said, well, I didn't feel that from you, but can you tell me a little bit about what that was like? And then she dropped in and then she got real. And this is what I want to communicate is that when we drop in and get real, we actually open up the space for greater healing, not only for ourselves, but perhaps for the connection or the experience in relationship to the other, depending on the other's ability to receive. So I'm curious. I'm always curious to learn about myself. And I know that people project a lot onto me. And I know that my energy can be very intense. And she said to me the first day I came in, and she felt like I was one of the inmates in her prison. And she said, you came in and you took over. She was right. I came in and I took over. And I didn't say anything, and I just kept saying, "Wow, okay, and what else happened? What else?" I just kept asking because I wanna learn how I'm being received in the world. And she went on to tell me that, she was so triggered by me because I set the stage and I kinda cut people off and I was managing the energy. So after she was done telling me of, like, how she thought I was an inmate and how she felt like she wanted to protect the other women, such a projection, right? I said, "Well, would you like to know what happened on my side? If you're open to that, I can tell you what happened." And she agreed, and I told her the way that I work is to set the container really tightly, and I noticed that, people weren't showing up on time and there was a lot of noise, and so I kind of brought everybody in like that. And I know how to move energy when I can make sure that the container is tight, when there's not leaks and there's not all this extra noise. I know that when we get present, it's a very precise way to work. And I also thanked her deeply. And this is my truth. I know that I can come across very intensely and that I can learn how to soften. So I really thanked her and I just gave her so much acknowledgement for her courage in sharing her truth with me. And and honestly learning where I can soften and deepen in myself and how I work so that people aren't so triggered and turned off. But I also acknowledged how courageous she was to come back to the second workshop and the third workshop. Because when she came back to that second workshop, and she told me this, she said, I understood because you felt softer. And I understood what I needed to do to connect with my inner child. And she started to soften with me. So it was like I showed up intensely to set the container, and then I can be soft and work with the energy. And she showed up intensely to tell me how I had triggered her in that moment. And then she was able to also soften to the healing that was available between the two of us. So, this woman who is newly pregnant and has had 4 miscarriages of recent times was scared. And she had formed a bond with this group of women before I had arrived and felt the need to protect them from my intensity. And when she told me that, I really understood, like, oh, wow, okay, I get it. And I don't know that I would do things differently. I know that the way that I've learned with the different shamans and medicine people and my spiritual psychology teachers at USM that the container is the most important part. In order to move energy, things need to be precise, which means you need to show up on time. You need to honor your word with impeccability. It's the 4 agreements and what we learn. And after she shared with me, and I received her, and I acknowledged her and thanked her, and I shared what I was learning for my own self, then we were able to get underneath and get to the deeper healing that was available to her, that is available to me. We're all mirrors with each other. So I didn't tell her, oh, okay, that's fine. I see it differently. I just really listened and I acknowledged how she was feeling. And I acknowledged that, yeah, I'm intense. I get it. And not everybody's going to like me. And that's okay. And in that acknowledgement, that her truth was okay and that my truth was okay. And even though it was different, we were able to meet in a place of loving to where then she started to ask me deeper questions about her path and her process. She asked me deeper questions about how to work with energy. And newly a Christian was feeling very much like some of the stuff we were doing was noted as witchcraft. And I got to share with her my experience with the Christic consciousness, which is different than the religion. And I got to share with her the second coming of the Christic energy is within us, within her, within me, within you. There takes a level of understanding yourself in order to not take these projections on. And there also takes a level of humility to say, I'm sorry that that felt that way for you. And here's what was going on for me. And thank you. Now I can learn, maybe there's a different way that I can do things. And when I'm brought into new community, how I can show up and how I can really serve. It doesn't mean that I'll change the ways of setting the stage. Or maybe it means the ways might soften in the ways that I set the stage, but the stage is important. The container is important. It's valuable. It's one of the things that I really understand and know that what's the first step to moving energy. So I'm just reminded of this, and I'm so grateful to this beautiful sister who showed up in this way with me, who told me at the end, she goes, girl, you have big dick energy. And I was like, okay, man, I am not 32. I don't know what that means. Is that good? Is that not good? And what she shared to me was that the level of freedom that I have accessed within me is intimidating, but it's also inspirational. And the level of freedom that I seek inside of myself, it's my only job here is to learn how to be free. And then I want to tell everybody, here's what works for me. Try this, try that. I don't know if it will work for you, but maybe if we set the container together and we play and we practice, maybe, just maybe some of these tools will work for you. So I offer this in such gratitude, in such deep gratitude for the courage that this beautiful younger sister had come to me with. She thought of me as an inmate in one of her prison cells and she wanted to protect everybody. But then, as she let herself open to receive my medicine, really to receive the invitation for her to step up inside of herself, which is what the medicine that I'm bringing is like, here, we can do this together. I got your hand. Let's experiment. Let's explore. She was able to come into a deeper place of understanding within herself and a more relaxed body. And perhaps they might be, she might be creating a sacred, safe space for that little baby to make it through. Perhaps her body will be able to hold her if she doesn't feel such a need to push people out, but instead learn how to protect that little girl that she was able to meet inside of one of these workshops. This work is so deep and so rich and so continuously bringing me to a space of humility. It's my greatest gift to myself to see someone lighten up and have an awareness that they didn't have before, or have a meeting with their inner child, or have an opportunity that they didn't even know that that little inner child existed. To create that space in order to receive that level of healing for herself is my gift that she gave me. Because in the end, she trusted the creator of the group, and she thought, well, if this woman brought honeybee in, then maybe there's something in it for me. How courageous, how bold can we be with life? Now, not everybody is going to be our cup of tea, and not I am not going to be everybody's favorite little honeybee. Some will see how sweet I am, and some will see the stinger. And that doesn't matter to me. I just keep going back to the 4 agreements, and my God, I wish I could remember them right now. Be impeccable with your word. Take full accountability for what your actions are. Listen. I don't remember them, to be honest with you, but that's a good book we should all review. So I share this with you just to remember that sharing your truth in a safe space where someone can receive it and not just act like, well, that's not how I saw it, but actually to receive the truth in a way that's like, oh, shit, I didn't see that that's how I could have come across. Thank you. So I got big dick energy. She told me at the end that that big dick energy is good. It's powerful. It's something good for her in her eyes. But I went from being viewed as a prisoner an inmate in her jail, to someone who actually offered her the key to freedom for herself. And we did this together through a courageous sharing and a courageous listening and really honoring what was present in the moment. I'm so grateful for this beautiful sister and for this teaching. I'm so grateful for being able to continuously learn about myself and how to refine and how to show up differently and how to really hold the energy. I will always be strict with the way that I hold a container. I will always be strict because I know that that precision is important. And there's ways for me to soften. There's a lot of ways for me to learn to soften, to be gentle in that precision. If I'm showing up with my heart full, honoring my word, and really listening for the learnings, We both create a space for healing and learning. So if you're on my newsletter, this one's for you. I'm going to write you a little love letter right now. And this is the fuller story. I'm curious to hear what you think and if you've had that experience, and just know that we have to be discerning when we share with people. We get to be discerning when we share with people. Those that we trust can hold our truth. Those that we can trust, who can really show up in humility, always ready to learn from each other. I love this woman. Oh my God. And anyway, at the end of the retreat, she was one of the greatest transformations. And I think that moment was super defining for me, for her, for the whole group, because I got to come back to the group and say, hey, listen, I'm really sorry. I know I'm intense and I'm trying differently, but that's how I know how to move energy. So I offer this story just as a way to remind us all that your truth matters. Not everyone's going to be for you. Don't take things personally and be impeccable with your word. I'm going to look up those 4 truths and write them down. I encourage you to do the same. I love you. I'm grateful for you. Thanks for listening in. Subscribe if you're interested in more blah, blah, blah. I always have really funny stories. I have so many from this weekend. Maybe we'll be sharing them here. I'm not sure. Okay. Blessings, love, peace, all the yumminess to you from my heart to yours. Namaste.